I had heard of NAMI. Now I actively sought their help. My first NAMI meeting was attended by 4 much older women. Their loved ones were all in their 30s and 40s with established lives. I remember realizing with a shock that I would be dealing with my mentally ill son for the rest of my natural life. Maybe not. I don't know why I hadn't thought of that before. These women who told me they'd been coming to NAMI meetings for years seemed so relaxed. I was still at a point where I couldn't talk about Calen without crying. I spoke about Christmas vacation and asked their advice. There was no apology for mental illness in their dialogue, no bitterness or anger. Mental illness was simply one fact of their lives. Anger still gnawed at my bones, protecting me from the sadness that was too much to bear in the face of 19-year-old Calen's schizophrenia. But one of the women spoke up immediately. She told me that Calen would take care of himself. What Calen needed, she told me, was a safe place to do just that. The other mothers added to the conversation, pitching in ideas of how I could help Calen over the holidays. They were all so kind and gave me hope that Calen's trip home would be a success. I left 1,000 pounds of anxiety in that room. When I returned home, I understood that to bring Calen into the family fold was a good thing. But I needed to find him a place where he could retreat. I needed to allow each family member to interact with him, to not protect him. He would protect himself in his retreat. My parents had a very quiet room where Calen slept and retreated to his heart's content. I had to stop myself from asking him to come out when I thought he'd been in there too long. I had to stop myself from going in just to be near him. Several family members came to me to ask about Calen's behavior, how changed they found him. I simply said yes. I do remember the one time I saw Calen behave like he used to, and that was when he and his brother and sister and cousins were setting the Christmas table. He really pitched in and I heard him laugh. Then he returned to his room and shut the door. Calen departed for the hospital a few days later. I was so grateful to the NAMI women for telling me to provide him with his own space. I never would have known to do that. Christmas and Calen's re-entry into the family was a success, just as the NAMI women had hoped it would be. I know that without the advice of these mothers, it would have been much more stressful. In my own life, mental illness played a crippling role, stripping me of my dreams. There were so many things I wanted to pursue, so many careers I started and had to stop because of my all-consuming and destructive moods. Everything I wanted to work toward was inevitably destroyed. Once humiliated, I could not go back. I wasn't diagnosed properly until I was 47 years old. I know I've been bipolar untreated for most of my life. I went through so many houses and cars that I lost count. I went through 5 husbands. It's more difficult to lose count of husbands. 3 of which told me, I just can't take this anymore. I don't blame them, and I'm not speaking of this for sympathy. I can certainly handle that all by myself. I'm speaking of this to illustrate how difficult it is for those who are not mentally ill to truly understand those of us who are, and why they should attend NAMI's family-to-family meetings. My last husband would tell me to my face, I want you back. What he meant was that he wanted my mania back. Just please bring back that person I love because I can't stand the depressed and suicidal one. I remember hypersexuality and the happy, giddy person who greeted him at the end of the day with enough energy to cook dinner and clean up. He didn't like the scared, sad wife who would crawl into our closet